New Intelliflo3 going in, and we got a Master Temp 400 going in over here. Holy cow, this old heater is so big, I gotta zoom out just to fit it in my frame here. Barely fitting on this pad. We're gonna swap it out. Just wait till you see the size difference between the two, and the efficiency difference is what we're really after here. So new pump gonna sit right there. We already got our clean and clear cartridge filter that is still good to go, so we're gonna leave that. Yeah, it's our first video with Danny. He's already off. He's Speedy Gonzalez here. He's off to the races. I love it. Oh yeah.
Now we'll line it up and see where the suction's gonna sit. Drop that manifold just a little bit. Nothing too crazy.
So with these new Intelliflos, I mean, they connect right to the internet, huh?
Yeah, we can do Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. So it's kind of cool because if we're installing it in the field and we want to do programming and we don't have access to the homeowner's Wi-Fi, we can just sync up with Bluetooth through our phone, do all the programming, and then later on get it on the Wi-Fi network with the homeowner and show them the app and how it all works. And it's pretty self-explanatory with the app. It's super user-friendly, pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
So makes it very easy user interface.
Heck yeah. Seems as if pumps are turning into smart home pieces of technology themselves now.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. The technology advancements, it's crazy because when you think about it, like all single speed pumps run at 3,450 RPMs. So the size of the copper windings of the old motors is what determined the horsepower rating and how much water it can move. These pumps, they get you at a 3 horsepower max, but we can control the RPM range now.
Yeah.
So like this old pump was 1.5 horses. So in theory, at about 1,800 RPMs, 1,900 RPMs, this Intelliflo3 will be moving the same amount of water that this one's moving, but moving at half of the speed of that old motor.
I like that.
And that's how you get your energy savings with it. Now, a lot of time what people will do in these kind of situations, the two's not lining up. So some people will get like 245s and try to like swing it out to adjust for the level right here. But when you do that, you end up pushing the pump back further and then it goes all the way towards the house. So what I do is if you have enough meat left on your piping right here, we can put the inlet in here, and then cut the excess off here and then reattach with couplers, and that's going to get you to the right level that you need to be at without pushing the pump back any further. Pop it in here. We'll line it up. We know that a coupler is going to bring it right there, so really we just need to get rid of that top half right there.
very clever trick to do that instead of that, because I think even my mind, and initially you're like, oh well, you gotta do something up here. You wouldn't think, oh, I'll just cut here.
And it makes it drop down to the level. Then you don't have to put any extra Frankenstein fittings. And most of the time the pump is right next to the house. So whenever you're doing it like that and you end up pushing it further back, sometimes you run into the house and you're kind of like, what do I do from there? You know, how am I going to get my wires in?
Right.
So it's always nice to be able to drop it so you have a direct inlet with no extra restrictions. We'll grab some fittings real quick.
Out of all pool equipment, pump, heater, filter, which one's the easiest to install?
I would say pumps typically are going to be your easiest to install. Heaters, you got your electric, plumbing, and gas, so there's a little bit more complex to it. Filter is generally pretty easy as well. It just depends on what you're removing. So like if you're taking out a sand filter, you've got anywhere from 300 to 500 pounds of sand that you got to move as well. So that kind of changes the ball game a little bit. So pumps is pretty standard for the most part. The only time it gets a little confusing is when you're going into automation, but with these pumps, their manuals are so cut and dry. It's a simple 2-wire connection and a couple of settings through the app, and you're online. So I'd say the newer pumps are even easier at times, because the old pumps, it's like, how do I get this old technology to talk to the new system?
Right.
Sometimes you'll have really thick paint on these pipes and you want it to get a good bond. Sometimes a primer won't get it. I use sandpaper every now and then, but I don't like doing that because sometimes it affects the diameter of the pipes and that can create leaks as well. So what I do is I'll put a bead of glue around it, let it sit for a second, and the glue actually eats right through the paint to get you back down to your perfect surface.
Acts almost like a paint thinner, would you say?
Yeah, in a sense, because the glue, PVC glue, actually like melts the pipes together. It's not really just glue that's holding it together. It kind of like bonds the pipes and makes them one. That's how you don't get the leaks. that, we didn't have to change the depth of the pump. We got the height right just by shimming off a couple and just coupling it back together. So now we'll start working on the outlet.
Nice and clean. Is that a special type of lubricant, would you say, or is that?
This is just the typical pool lubricant. This one is my personal favorite. It's the Boss product. It doesn't break down with water like the Magic Lube. Also comes off the fingers a lot easier, so it's not as greasy feeling after you wipe your hands off. Their claim to fame is if they would have used this on the Challenger space shuttle, it wouldn't have blown up.
Oh, jeez. That's quite a claim.
Yeah. The O-ring shifted.
Oh.
It wasn't, the O-ring wasn't lubricated, and it shifted inside the chamber, and the gases mixed and exploded. Now, whenever I'm doing the outlet, I like to glue the fitting in before I put it on to the top. A lot of people will attach the union and then go ahead and glue it. But sometimes what happens when you do that is the glue runs down and gets all over your O-ring. So then when you go to undo the union, you got to buy a new O-ring, or it doesn't seal up right away because the O-ring kind of got melted by the glue. So I always like to glue my reducer fitting into this, and then maybe even the stub of pipe that I'm going to bring up for the outlet before I attach it to the pump. And I kind of put it up at an angle like that to let it dry for a second, because even this glue can start running down on here if you have the angle pitched down. So I pitch it up, it takes it about 15 seconds to cure, and then we make sure that we don't have any glue run down inside the pump or on the union where it's seating for the water connection. So what I'm doing now is we weren't quite lined up on where our outlet was going to line up. So I had enough room on the pipe for the return where I could cut the filter, scoot the filter back to line it up. And now I'm just going to make my connection right here real quick. All the water out of the pipe.
Anyway, this line is going to be
wasn't here.
That's, yeah, you're doing good.
Another thing I do before I start plumbing over top of the pump again, I just don't like getting any of the glue or anything like that on there. So I throw the bag that the union's done on top of the pump lid. And then just wedge it down in there so that we know we're not going to get anything on there. Nothing worse than dropping a bunch of blue glue onto your brand new.
Right.
So what you're trying to achieve when you're plumbing is you want your pipes to all line up. So I just go right to where that meets now. So I know that my height is good. So now I just need to line up. I have play with the union right there, so now I can lift that up, get my joints ready, and then just put the 90 and push down. And our plumbing is complete. So these pumps are 240. Some of you will have like a standard time clock like this. This is going to become obsolete, so now we're not going to be using this anymore. If you have a salt system or plan on getting a salt system, though, you will use this timer to power the salt cell. So what I do is identify which wires are going down to the pump. In this case, it's going to be the 2 reds coming up from this left whip. So this is going to be on timer. And this is going to be our hot power on 1. We're going to go ahead and loosen up this terminal. Bring that into the 1. We're going to repeat the process on this side. Loosen up the 3. Loosen up the 4. Bring the red over into the 3. Tighten the terminal back down. So now we're going to have constant power going down to the back of this pump. Because everything's programmed through the app, the schedules, all that, it's done through the interface on this. This becomes obsolete unless you're powering a salt system. Go ahead and bring the heater over too right now while we're at it. Now what I'm doing over here is I'm also bringing the power for the heater over to the hot wires, so that if you ever turn on your pump through the app, if this was in the off position, the timer, and your heater was getting power, it wouldn't send power to the heater until you turn your time clock on. So a lot of homeowners aren't going to think about that because now they're using the pump and the app to turn on their pump. So I always move over the heater wires to the hot as well, so then they can just have full control of their heater no matter what. Pretty simple wiring back here. You got your line 1, line 2, and your ground terminal. You got other pop-outs up back here. That's for if you get the 076 model with the IO board. There's a control board that can plug into this socket right here that you can hook up a low voltage and a high voltage relay to get additional features through your app. So you could control like a light, a waterfall pump, a salt system, stuff of that nature. Then you got this socket right here, and this is going to be your communication plug for automation. So you'd bring your low voltage comm wire up through here and attach to this if you're using automation, and you would just refer to the instruction manual on which automation system you're using to wire accordingly. Ground wire attached. Pump is done. Now we'll move on to the heater.
Excellent.